Hello. 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 Yeah. So we are back again, and this bio class is actually I'm taking after a long time. So the last class we have completed till the blood clotting mechanism, and before that, in the first few classes, we have also understood that what are the blood corpuscles, and then what is the fluid plasma, and what are the constituents that is found in the blood. Right? We have completed everything. Okay. Fine. Yes. Hello. Right. Okay. So today what we are going to understand is the types of antibodies. Okay, the types of antibodies and antigens. Basically, how they regulate everything that we called as our blood groups. How our blood groups are determined by this antigens and antibody interaction. Okay. So before I start with the class, I would like to tell everybody that we are just not providing you free lectures, but instead we are also providing you free mock test. For that, what you have to go do, you have to go to the Google Play Store and download the app MidhaGuru. After you download the app, you have to go and log in into the app. There you have to type for 10th ICC mock test. Once you type that, you will be getting the list, or rather the column, where you will find mock tests for all the subjects such as mathematics, physics, chemistry, and biology. All the mock tests are given in a very sequential manner so that it becomes easy for you to access all those mock tests. Fine. Apart from that, if you have any kind of inquiries, you need any kind of free mentorship or guidance, you can call on this number, or also you can WhatsApp us. Fine. Now we know that in our human body we have different kind of systems. Similarly, we have this circulatory system even. The circulatory system basically comprises of three things, that is the heart, then the blood vessels, and we have this blood. And all these three things actually uh, makes up the human circulatory system. Fine. Okay. Fine. Yeah. Hello. Now let's move. We have already discussed everything, but we can just have a brief on this. We know that there are three kinds of fluid in our body, that is blood, tissue fluid, and lymph. Then let's move on to the types of fluid. Then we had circulating fluid, non-circulating fluid. Also, the properties of blood we have studied earlier. Then the composition of blood, what is serum, what is fibrinogen, how the bloods, basically the platelets help in clotting of bloods. Everything we have discussed in the previous two classes, right? Then the respiratory pigment that we have inside our blood is actually the hemoglobin, which is made up of two parts, globin and iron part, that is hemin. So everything was done in the previous two classes. Basically today we are going to start with the blood group mechanism. The blood group mechanism. Now, before I start with the blood group mechanism, I just want to brief a little bit about the blood clotting thing. So what is happening basically, this is actually a test tube in which we have taken the plasma of the blood. Okay, we have taken the plasma of the blood. Now what is happening inside this plasma, we have inside this test tube we have left the plasma for some minutes. We can see that there are some clot being formed inside this plasma, inside this plasma. These clots basically are nothing but the fibrin threads. These are what? These are fibrin threads. We have studied in blood clotting mechanism one thing, that there is an inactive protein that we called as fibrinogen, which gets activated as fibrin. These are basically what? These are यही सारे क्या है? These are actually the fibrin threads. Fine. And these are basically the corpuscles. The threads and the corpuscles are not very much prominent in this picture, but there are few small corpuscles, even the corpuscles like RBCs, WBCs, and the platelets. They are actually trapped inside these fibrin threads. And the left plasma, the left fluid, not the plasma, sorry, the left fluid that we can see, basically the yellowish color fluid is actually the serum. It is actually the serum. So if I say that what is a serum, then if I remove this if I remove this fibrin thread, okay, if I remove this fibrin thread from the plasma, if I remove this fibrin thread from the plasma, then the left fluid is called as the serum. So in short, we can say that plasma minus fibrin thread is actually our serum. Okay, so I'm just writing here, plasma minus fibrin thread is actually serum. Okay, in short, we can define serum as plasma without fibrin threads. Fine. And inside this fibrin thread, we know that all the corpuscles gets trapped up. What are the corpuscles? RBCs, WBCs, and the platelets, right? तो ये सारा चीज हम लोग ऑलरेडी पिछले क्लास पे भी, हेलो, यस, पिछले क्लास में हम लोग ये ऑलरेडी सारी चीजों को पढ़ चुके थे, राइट? वी हैव ऑलरेडी सीन ऑल द थिंग्स in the last 3 classes only. Now let's move to the blood group that we need to discuss today. Now before understanding the blood group and how do we determine the blood group in all the individuals, we have to understand few basic things. What are the basic things? Like, there is a protein inside our body. What happens that inside the blood we have red blood cells. I'm just drawing in a rough way. We have RBCs inside our blood. Inside, on the surface of this RBC, are there is a protein called as antigen is present. On the surface of this RBC, there is a protein, we called it as antigen, is present. And inside the plasma, sorry, there is another protein that we called as antibody is present. Now, I would like to tell one thing. These both are actually protein molecules. Whether I talk about the antigen or the antibody, both are these basically are protein molecules. But this antibody is actually have contrasting characters to this antigen. Rather, I can say that जो भी antibodies होती है जो भी antibodies होती है ये एंटीजन के अगेंस्ट ये फाइट करती है. जैसे फॉर सपोज, लाइक इफ यू आर इन्फेक्टेड विद सम काइंड ऑफ जर्म और फॉरेन मॉलिक्यूल्स, whenever your body is actually invaded, या फिर कोई फॉरेन पार्टिकल आके अगर हमारी बॉडी के अंदर इन्वेड करने की कोशिश करती है, एंड इफ द बॉडी रिकॉग्नाइज कि ये मेरे बॉडी का पार्ट नहीं है, दिस इज अ मॉलिक्यूल और दिस इज अ पार्टिकल विच हैज कम फ्रॉम आउटसाइड, I am going to call, sorry, my body is going to define that particular particle, that particular molecule as an antigen, as an antigen. Fine. And उसके अगेंस्ट, उस एंटीजन, उस पर्टिकुलर मॉलिक्यूल के अगेंस्ट हमारा बॉडी क्या करना स्टार्ट करता है? एक पर्टिकुलर टाइप ऑफ प्रोटीन बनाना स्टार्ट करता है विच वी कॉल्ड एज एंटीबॉडी. And according to that we have classified our blood groups. So what happens? Two things we need to understand. There is a particular antigen that is present on the surface of our RBC. We call that as antigen. And in plasma, there's another protein we called as antibody. Now, generally the blood groups, जैसे हमें पता है कि मेनली जो ब्लड ग्रुप है जिसके बारे में द मोस्ट रिनाउंड ब्लड ग्रुप्स दैट वी हैव इन ह्यूमन रेस इज ब्लड ग्रुप ए, ब्लड ग्रुप बी, ब्लड ग्रुप ए बी एंड ओ. All these blood groups are defined by the presence of antigens over the RBC. That means जो भी जिसका भी अगर ब्लड ग्रुप ए है उसे अगर हम लोग इस तरह से बात करें कि किसी भी इंसान का अगर ब्लड ग्रुप ए है तो वो ए क्यों है, बिकॉज इन दैट पर्टिकुलर पर्सन वी कुड नोटिस दैट इट्स आरबीसी मस्ट बी हैविंग ए एंटीजन. तो बेसिकली जो ब्लड ग्रुप है ना वो किसके बेसिस पे डिफाइंड रहता है, वो एंटीजन के बेसिस पे डिफाइंड रहता है. कौन सा एंटीजन, द एंटीजन विच इज प्रेजेंट ओवर द आरबीसी ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर ह्यूमन. ठीक है, तो दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. So that is very important, right? So if I say that somebody is having blood group A, that means he is having an antigen A. Sorry. Now, if I say that suppose I have blood group B, how can I say that I have blood group B? Because over my RBC, over the surface of my RBC, there must be antigen B. Just a minute. Could not see the charts. Yeah, now I can see the charts. Yeah, hello. Yeah, hello. So if I say that I am belonging to the blood group of B, how can I claim that? डेफिनेटली ये देखा गया होगा मेरे ब्लड सैंपल में कि मेरा जो आरबीसी है उसमें कौन सा एंटीजन रहा होगा, दैट मस्ट बी बी. तो बेसिकली जो भी ब्लड ग्रुप है वो किस पे डिफाइंड रहता है, एंटीजन पे डिफाइंड रहता है. वो एंटीजन कहाँ पे रहता है, आरबीसी के सरफेस पे, आरबीसी के सरफेस पे रहता है. According to that, we can define our blood groups. Similarly, if I say that anybody is having a blood group AB, this means what? That means he must be having antigen A and antigen B both over his RBCs. Now, if I say that somebody is having blood group O, that means he is not having either A antigen or not even B antigen. He is not carrying any antigen over his or her RBC. Fine. So this way actually we define our blood groups. There are many blood groups all over the world, but the main blood groups that anybody studies about, or the blood groups that are renowned, are basically A blood group, B blood group, AB blood group, and O blood group. Two things we have understood, that there are two molecules. One is antigen, which is present over the RBC, and an antibody, which is present inside the plasma. So their sites are very important. Their locations are very important. If in the exam it has been asked that the antigens are present over what, it is actually present over the surface of the RBCs, whereas the antibodies are present inside the plasma. Second thing that we have understood, that blood groups are defined according to the antigen that is present over the RBCs. Okay, so whatever antigen that is present over the RBC will define my blood group. Will define my blood group. Suppose if I have antigen A over my RBC, then I will be having a blood group A. I will be falling under the category of blood group A. ओके, तो इस तरह से हम लोग चीज़ों को डिफाइन करते हैं, इस तरह से हम लोग चीज़ों को डिफाइन करते हैं, राइट. फाइन. नाउ लेट्स मूव टू द नेक्स्ट स्लाइड. So basically this is the summary. This is the summary. We have blood group A, we have blood group B, AB and O. Antigens. Let's look into the antigens. If I say that if I belong to the group of blood group A, that means I have antigen A over my RBC. If I fall under the blood group of B, then there must be antigen B that must be present on my RBC. Okay. And if I say that I belong to the blood group AB, that means that my RBC must be having blood this antigen A as well as antigen B, right? सो इसी तरह से हम लोग चीज़ों को डिफाइन करते हैं, इसी तरह से हम लोग ब्लड ग्रुप को बेसिकली डिफाइन करते हैं, राइट? जस्ट अ मिनट, जस्ट अ मिनट. Hello. Yeah. So basically, we were discussing about. Just a minute. Hello, hello. Yeah. Sorry, let's continue. Let's continue with it. Fine. So we have understood that whatever antigen is present over the RBC, we are going to fall under that blood group itself. Now somebody is having blood group O. What does this mean? What does this mean? That means that the person must not be having any antigen over its RBC. मतलब किसी भी इंसान का अगर blood group O है, इसका मतलब क्या है कि उसके RBC पे कोई भी ऐसा एंटीजन नहीं है, ना एंटीजन ए है ना एंटीजन बी है. नाउ एंटीबॉडीज, किस तरह के एंटीबॉडीज प्रेजेंट रहते हैं? एंड इट्स वेरी सिंपल. लाइक वी नो दैट अगर किसी का ब्लड ग्रुप ए है तो उसके आरबीसी पे कौन सा एंटीजन होगा? दैट विल बी एंटीजन ए. नाउ द एंटीबॉडीज आर जस्ट opposite or antagonistic, we can say. That means if somebody is having antigen A, the antibody that is present in their plasma will be antibody B, just opposite. If a person is having antigen A over its RBC, then he must be having antibody B in its plasma. Okay, just ulta. Similarly, if somebody is having antigen B over its RBC, then the person must be having antibody A inside its his or her plasma, right? Next, antigens on RBC. Antigens on RBC. Now, next we can see with this AB also. AB on AB, or if somebody is falling under the category of AB, that means he must be having antigen A and antigen B over its RBC. And we know that we can understand from this data itself that if somebody is having antigen A and B both over its RBC, he or she must not be having any antibody inside his or her plasma. ठीक है, ये सारे चीजें क्या होती है? जस्ट ऑपोजिट चल रहा है. यस, हेलो. ठीक है, ये सारा चीज क्या चल रहा है? ऑपोजिट. सिमिलरली ओ मतलब ओ को हम लोग किस तरह से लेंगे, जीरो के जैसे, मतलब कुछ भी नहीं है, मतलब उसके आरबीसी पे कुछ भी नहीं है, ठीक है, उसके आरबीसी पे कोई भी एंटीजन नहीं है। वेराज एंटीबॉडीज, प्लाज्मा में एंटीबॉडी दोनों, एंटीबॉडी ए एंड एंटीबॉडी बी दोनों प्रेजेंट होंगे, ठीक है, प्लाज्मा में एंटीबॉडी ए एंड एंटीबॉडी बी दोनों प्रेजेंट होंगे. So we can summarize a little bit that person with blood group A will be having antigen A but antibody B. Person with blood group B will be having antigen B but antibody A. Person with blood group A and B, sorry, AB will have antigen both A and B. Now, how is it working like this? Why is it working like this? Because ये जो एंटीजन है ना वही डिफाइन करते हैं हमारे ब्लड ग्रुप को. दिस एंटीजन ओनली डिफाइंस आवर ब्लड ग्रुप. Whatever antigen we have or whatever antigen is present on our RBC will define our blood group. ठीक है, किसी के पास भी अगर एंटीजन बी है तो उसका ब्लड ग्रुप क्या होगा, बी ही होगा. सो इफ एग्जामिनेशन इफ इट इज बीन आस्क्ड दैट हु डिटरमाइंस आवर ब्लड ग्रुप, whether it is antigen or antibody, then antigens actually determine the blood group. फाइन, ठीक है, एंटीजन ही क्या करते हैं, हमारे ब्लड ग्रुप को डिटरमाइन करते हैं या डिफाइन करते हैं. फाइन, ये हो गया. तो ब्लड ग्रुप का कंसेप्ट क्लियर. नाउ एक हम लोग बहुत कॉमन चीज सुन पाते हैं दैट ब्लड ग्रुप जब हम लोग डोनेट कर सॉरी ब्लड जब हम लोग डोनेट करते हैं या ट्रांसफ्यूजन ऑफ ब्लड, बेसिकली जब हम लोग ब्लड किसी और को डोनेट कर रहे हैं या ट्रांसफ्यूज कर रहे हैं तो हमें बहुत सारे चीज़ों का ध्यान रखना पड़ता है. ब्लड ग्रुप का ध्यान रखना पड़ता है, फिर बहुत सारे आर एच एंटीजन जो कि अभी हम लोग इस जिस स्लाइड के जस्ट बाद पढ़ेंगे, दैट ऑल्सो वी नीड टू कंसिडर. देन ग्राफ्ट का भी हमें ध्यान रखना पड़ता इसका भी ध्यान रखना पड़ता है, ठीक है. सो हियर व्हाट आर वी गोइंग टू सी, हियर व्हाट आर वी गोइंग टू सी इज दैट ब्लड ग्रुप डोनेट हम लोग किस तरह से करते हैं, ठीक है. नाउ देयर इज वन थिंग वी हैव, we know this thing that AB blood group, that AB blood group can receive, it is actually universal recipient and O is actually universal donor. O is actually universal donor. That means AB can receive blood from all the individuals, all the individuals. That means anybody who is having blood group A, anybody who is having blood group B, or anybody who is having blood group AB, or even if anybody is having blood group O, he or she can receive blood from all these people, whoever is carrying all these blood group. Whereas O can only donate, O can only donate, and O can receive blood only from O blood group people only. ठीक है, and why is it so, that we are going to discuss, right? Okay, now let's move to the next slide. ABO system. So in this uh, arrow diagram we can understand that AB can receive blood from O, from A, from B, and from itself also, right? But O can donate to everybody and AB can receive from everybody. Now how does it work, what happens that, like if we check with the antigen antibody interaction, what happens that antigen, we have two proteins, antigen and antibody. Now what happens, antibody जो present रहता है हमारे plasma में, that actually tries to detect any foreign molecule, a foreign particle or any kind of molecule, and it tries to engulf it or eradicate it. उसको भगाने का कोशिश करता है. अगर कोई भी फॉरेन पार्टिकल, फॉरेन मॉलिक्यूल हमारे बॉडी के अंदर आ गया तो एंटीबॉडी हैज दैट टेंडेंसी कि वो ट्राई करता है कि उसे इनगल्फ कर दे, निगल जाए, उसे किल कर दे या फिर उसे पूरी तरह से इरेडिकेट कर दे. Now if I take an example, why B blood group people can donate blood to B blood group people only. Now let's understand this. Now if I say that I have taken A blood group people and I have taken a B blood group person. Now, the person with blood group A must be having antigen A and antibody B. A person with blood group B must be having antigen B and antibody A. Just उल्टा होता है, just उल्टा होता है। एंटीजन के प्रेजेंस पे ही हम लोग ब्लड ग्रुप को डिफाइन करते हैं। वी नो दिस, एंटीजन्स के प्रेजेंस पे ही वी डिफाइन आर ब्लड ग्रुप। तो जो भी एंटीजन प्रेजेंट होगा उसके बेसिस पे हमारा ब्लड ग्रुप डिफाइंड रहता है। एंड एंटीबॉडी क्या होता है? जस्ट ऑपोजिट। इफ आई एम कैरिंग एंटीजन ए, देन आई मस्ट बी हैविंग एंटीबॉडी बी इनसाइड माई प्लाज्मा। Similarly, if a person belongs to blood group B, he must be having antigen B over its RBC, over his or her RBC, and antibody inside his or her plasma. Now, suppose let's take a case. अगर ये जो person है with blood group A, if he tries to donate blood to person with blood group B, now what will happen? यहाँ पे क्या होगा समझते हैं। जैसे ही ये इंसान इस इंसान को ब्लड दे रहा है या डोनेट कर रहा है, व्हाट विल हैपन? एंटीजन ए विल गो इनसाइड, जस्ट चेंजिंग द कलर ऑफ द पेन सो दैट इट बिकम्स क्लियर टू यू पीपल। ये एंटीजन ए किसके अंदर जाएगा? इस पर्सन के प्लाज्मा के अंदर, इस पर्सन के ब्लड के अंदर एंटीजन ए प्रेजेंट है। नाउ एंटीबॉडी का क्या काम है? किसी भी फॉरेन पार्टिकल को क्या करना है? किल कर देना, इरेडिकेट कर देना, एंड क्या फिर इनगल्फ कर लेना। फाइन, that is the main function of any antibody that is present inside our body. Now the body knows that it must have an antigen B, but यहाँ पे क्या हुआ? If the person A belonging to blood group A has donated his or her blood to person B, अब क्या होगा कि जो एंटीबॉडी प्रेजेंट है ना B के अंदर, B पर्सन के अंदर, वो देखेगा कि दिस पार्टिकल डज नॉट बिलोंग टू माई बॉडी, this particle does not belong to my body, or this protein does not belong to my body, and it will try to fight against this antigen, it will try to fight against this particle or this antigen or this protein। और इसी एंटीबॉडी एंटीजन फाइट में क्या होता है? ब्लड कोआगुलेशन होना स्टार्ट होता है, ब्लड कोआगुलेशन होना स्टार्ट होता है, ब्लड क्लॉटिंग होना स्टार्ट होता है। एंड ब्लड अगर मैनीफोल्ड वे में ब्लड क्लॉटिंग होना स्टार्ट हो गया, देन व्हाट विल हैपन? द पर्सन में डाई, द पर्सन में डाई। ठीक है, तो इसी तरह से हम लोग को काफ़ी ज़्यादा ध्यान रखना पड़ता है, इसी तरह से हमें काफ़ी ज़्यादा ध्यान रखना पड़ता है कि अगर हम लोग किसी को ब्लड दे रहे हैं तो क्या हमारा एंटीजन एंटीबॉडी इंटरेक्शन मैच कर रहा है कि नहीं। So on that basis, we actually determine to whom we need to give our blood or from whom we need to take the blood. Just not this, we have to also check the RH antigens even, that we are going to discuss in the next slide. Okay. Now let's talk about O. Why O is an universal donor? Because O is not carrying any antigen. O is not carrying any antigen, and when it has no antigen, if it is donating blood to any of the people belonging to A, AB, or B, then there is no antigen, and the antibodies inside A, AB, and B will not detect any kind of foreign particle or body, and it will not try to eradicate it। ठीक है, तो यही सबसे बड़ा रीजन है कि O ब्लड ग्रुप्स वाले किसी को भी ब्लड दे सकते हैं, बिकॉज इट डज नॉट हैव एनी एंटीजन, और किसी उनके पास एंटीजन ना होने के कारण वो अगर किसी के बॉडी में जा भी रहे हैं तो जो होस्ट है, जो रिसीव कर रहा है, जो रिसिपिएंट है, उसके अंदर जो एंटीबॉडीज है वो डिटेक्ट नहीं कर पाएगा किसी भी तरह के फॉरेन पार्टिकल्स को। तो किसी भी तरह का एंटीबॉडी या एंटीजन इंटरेक्शन नहीं पॉसिबल है, ना ही ब्लड का कोआगुलेशन पॉसिबल है। ठीक है, फाइन। सो दिस इज डन। नाउ लेट्स मूव टू द नेक्स्ट स्लाइड। Rhesus factor. So we were discussing that there are some compatibility factors. सबसे पहला compatibility factor क्या है? AB blood group compatibility. We need to check that whenever we are donating blood to any person, we should check the blood group. We should check the blood group. But that's not enough. We have to also check one more thing, that is the RH factor. Sorry. Now, what is this RH factor? What do we understand by this RH factor? Basically, RH word has been taken from rhesus monkey. There is a protein, there is a protein, we called it as RH protein. RH protein. and this RH term has been derived from rhesus monkey. This protein was found inside the RBCs of this rhesus monkey. एंड सो हम लोग इस चीज़ को कंसिडर करते हैं कि ये भी हमारे इमीडिएट एंसेस्टर्स हैं। रेसस जो मंकीज थे वो भी हमारे इमीडिएट एंसेस्टर्स हैं, तो उनके आरबीसी में भी ये प्रोटीन पाया गया था, दैट इज RH प्रोटीन। नाउ RH if let's take person A and person B. If person A is having this RH protein, then I will be saying that this person is RH positive. ठीक है, अगर इस पर्सन ए के आरबीसी पे ये प्रोटीन पाया जा रहा है, then I will be saying that this person is RH positive. सिमिलरली अगर पर्सन बी के आरबीसी में अगर हम लोग देखें किसी भी तरह का रेसस this RH protein is not present, if over the RBC of person B किसी भी तरह का RH protein is not present, तो हम लोग क्या बोलेंगे that this person is actually RH negative person. This person is actually RH negative person, right? ठीक है, ये हम लोग बोलेंगे। फाइन, तो किसी के आरबीसी पे अगर RH प्रोटीन है तो he or she will be called as RH positive person, एंड किसी भी इंसान के आरबीसी पे अगर RH प्रोटीन प्रेजेंट नहीं है देन ही और शी विल बी कॉल्ड एज RH नेगेटिव पर्सन, राइट? तो इसके बेसिस पे हम लोग डिफाइन कर दिया RH फैक्टर। तो जब भी हम लोग ब्लड डोनेट कर रहे हैं, ट्रांसफ्यूज कर रहे हैं, सिर्फ ब्लड ग्रुप का ही नहीं, हमें इस RH फैक्टर को भी ध्यान रखना पड़ता है, इस RH फैक्टर को भी हमें ध्यान रखना पड़ता है, राइट? सो दैट किसी भी तरह का नेगेटिव इंटरेक्शन ना हो जाए। Now there is a term, I'm just erasing this one, there's a term, okay, I'm just mentioning this just below, erythroblastosis fetalis. This term is not given in our book in Selena. This term is not given in Selena, but we need to understand the concept. Now what happens, this term is related to pregnancy, mechanism. Now suppose let's take a look on this. If a mother is RH negative, fine, जो मम्मी है वो RH negative है. Now suppose if she has conceived a baby who is actually RH positive, the baby is RH positive. So what will happen during the delivery process, जब बच्चे को बाहर निकाला जाएगा तब हमें पता है कि प्लासेंटा के थ्रू बेबी और मदर के बीच में ब्लड का काफ़ी ज़्यादा ट्रांसफ्यूजन होता है। जब बच्चे को निकाला जाता है, जब बेबी को एक्सपेल किया जाता है, तो प्लासेंटा के थ्रू मदर एंड बेबी का काफ़ी ज़्यादा ब्लड का एक्सचेंज होता है। एंड ड्यूरिंग दैट एक्सचेंज व्हाट विल हैपन कि इस बेबी के अंदर जो भी एंटीजेंस प्रेजेंट थे, दैट इज RH पॉजिटिव एंटीजेंस जो प्रेजेंट थे, वो सारा कहाँ पे चला जाएगा, वो सारा चला जाएगा, जस्ट अ मिनट, वो सारा एंटीजेंस किसके पास चला जाएगा, मदर के पास चला जाएगा। वो सारा एंटीजन किसके पास चला जाएगा, मदर के पास चला जाएगा। नाउ मदर के अंदर जितने भी एंटीबॉडीज होंगे, उनको लगेगा कि ये जो RH पॉजिटिव एंटीजेंस है, दीज आर एक्चुअली फॉरेन मॉलिक्यूल्स और फॉरेन पार्टिकल्स अकॉर्डिंग टू दिस मदर्स बॉडी। तो अब मदर के अंदर जो भी एंटीबॉडीज प्रेजेंट होंगे ना, मदर के अंदर मदर का जो इम्यून सिस्टम होगा, मदर के अंदर जो इम्यून सिस्टम होगा वो डिटेक्ट कर लेगा कि यस दिस RH प्रोटीन इज एक्चुअली अ फॉरेन प्रोटीन फॉर मी, फॉर दैट पर्टिकुलर मदर्स बॉडी, और उसके अगेंस्ट वो क्या करेगा, एंटीबॉडीज बनाना स्टार्ट करेगा, सो दैट इट कैन फाइट विद द RH प्रोटीन, ठीक है। अब नेक्स्ट टाइम इफ द मदर गेट्स प्रेग्नेंट अगेन, and again if she conceives a baby with RH positive antigen, तब क्या होगा, अब तो मदर के पास ऑलरेडी प्री एंटीबॉडीज फॉर्म्ड है, प्री फॉर्म्ड एंटीबॉडीज है, जो किसके अगेंस्ट एक्ट करेगा, RH पॉजिटिव एंटीजेंस के अगेंस्ट। तो उस टाइम पे क्या होगा कि जो जो सेकंड बेबी जो कंसीव हुआ है मदर की वूम में, due to the antibody and antigen fight, the baby can become fatal and miscarriages हो सकती है। ठीक है, so this is the basic mechanism, this is the basic mechanism of erythroblastosis fetalis। ठीक है, erythroblastosis fetalis, this whole mechanism is called as erythroblastosis fetalis। फाइन, ठीक है। नेक्स्ट अब हम लोग आते हैं वॉल्व्स। नाउ basically I wanted to start with the blood vessels, but before that I should be mentioning about the valves. What are valves? Because in all the blood vessels you must be seeing, not all the blood vessels, mainly the veins, we need to study about the valves there, and also valves are present inside the chambers of the heart that we are going to discuss when we are going to deal with the structure of heart. Okay, so let's talk about valves. What are valves? Can you see this image? This is actually the whole image of a blood vessel. What is a blood vessel? It is a narrow tube like structures that is present throughout our body. Throughout our body there are certain tube like structures. Now if you just look at your wrist, you can see some lines, blue or red lines. Those tubes are basically blood vessels. Blood vessels क्या करते हैं, छोटे छोटे पाइप लाइक स्ट्रक्चर्स होते हैं, like if I talk about this pen, this is a tube like structure, and inside this our blood actually circulates throughout our body. Blood is what? Blood is actually a fluid. It does not have definite volume, right? It does not have definite volume. So we need particular paths, proper paths, so that the blood can circulate throughout our body. Okay, keep on circulating throughout our body. Now this is the blood vessel, this is the blood vessel, and these flap like structures are actually our valves. These are actually valves. Now what are valves? These are actually muscular flap like structures. What are these? These are muscular flap like structures. These are what? These are muscular flap like structures. This is the anatomy, not the anatomy, the physiology. These are muscular and flap like structures. Now what are their functions? क्यों valves present रहते हैं हमारे पूरे वेन्स के थ्रू आउट, हमारे हार्ट के अंदर क्यों ऐसा प्रेजेंट रहता है, क्यों ये फ्लैप लाइक स्ट्रक्चर्स प्रेजेंट रहते हैं? So basically their function is to prevent the backflow of the blood. Now suppose this blood is what? This is a fluid, and fluid can move all around anywhere. It cannot have a proper dimension, it does not have a proper dimension that it will be staying at a static position. So suppose blood इस तरह से मूव कर रहा है, blood इस तरह से मूव कर रहा है, blood क्या है? फ्लूइड है, it can again come back, it can again come back, right? So to prevent the blood from coming back, these valves these valves actually acts as a doorways or gateways, so that the blood once gone cannot move back again. To prevent the backflow of the blood, these valves are installed throughout the veins and inside our heart as well. Okay, inside our heart as well. तो ये सारा चीज हमें ध्यान रखना होगा, ये सारी चीजें हमें ध्यान रखना होगा। फाइन, so what is the function? What will be the function? That it prevents the backflow of the blood. It prevents the backflow of the blood. That means once the blood has passed through a particular region, it cannot move back again. These what happens? Suppose blood is moving this in this direction. The valves are what? Muscular flaps. The valves are what? Muscular flaps. So this will get closed like this. Once the blood has passed, the valves will get closed like this. Okay, so that if the blood tries to move back again, it will act as a doorway or a gateway and prevent its backflow, prevent its backflow. Fine, ठीक है, यहाँ तक समझ में आ रही है? Anybody who is watching is having any doubt or anything, then you can ask me. Anybody who's having doubt or anything can ask me. Fine. Okay. Now let's move to the blood vessels. Now we have discussed just now what are blood vessels. Blood vessels are what? These are basically ट्यूब लाइक स्ट्रक्चर्स. जैसे इसका मैं बात करूँ तो ये एक ट्यूब लाइक पाथवे है. ये एक डेफिनेट पाथवे है जो ब्लड को हेल्प करता है. जैसे कि वी नो दिस थिंग दैट ब्लड इज व्हाट? ब्लड इज अ फ्लूइड and it needs to have a proper path so that it can circulate throughout that, right? So these are what? These are branched tubes. These are what? These are branched tubes. It will not have a single pathway, but it actually branches out. It branches out. If you look into your wrist, you will be seeing this thing that there are certain line like structures, lines that are actually in the form of branches. These branches that are emerging from a main midline, that is those are actually our blood vessels. Okay. And these actually extend from the heart, and it goes or distributes throughout our body. Through it actually is uniform throughout our body. So every part you take, whether you take the tip of your toes, tip of your fingers, till your hairs, everywhere the blood vessels are distributed. Fine. And what are these? ये क्या है? ये छोटे छोटे बहुत ही thin ट्यूब लाइक स्ट्रक्चर्स है जो क्या करते हैं? एक पाथवे प्रोवाइड करते हैं ताकि ब्लड उसके थ्रू सर्कुलेट कर सके. ताकि ब्लड उसके थ्रू सर्कुलेट कर सके. यस, क्लियर मैम. ओके. ताकि ब्लड उसके थ्रू सर्कुलेट कर सके. नाउ देर आर थ्री काइंड्स ऑफ ब्लड वेसल्स. देर आर थ्री टाइप्स ऑफ ब्लड वेसल्स. फर्स्ट इज arteries. Arteries, then we have veins, and then we have capillaries inside our body. There are three kinds of blood vessels: arteries, veins, and capillaries. What is the similarity between all these blood vessels? These are actually tube like structures only. Their dimension, their diameter can have a difference in between them, but basically they are what? They are after all blood vessels only. They are tube like structures only. Now let's talk about one by one. So first I am taking about the arteries. Let's talk about arteries. The picture that you can see is an artery. Is an artery. Artery is what? Artery is also a blood vessel. Now there are certain things that we need to understand and take out the differences. Okay, take out the differences. सबसे पहला, आर्टरी, जितने भी आर्टरीज हैं हमारे बॉडी में, ये हमेशा हार्ट से इमर्ज आउट करते हैं. इट गोज फ्रॉम हार्ट टू बॉडी पार्ट्स. Body part. From where does it emerges? From heart, and it goes to the body parts. Whereas veins, जो veins होते हैं वो body part से heart की तरफ proceed करते हैं. ठीक है, वो क्या करते हैं? Body part से heart की तरफ proceed करते हैं. Next thing that we need to understand is, next thing that we need to understand is, now if you get a term lumen or a cavity. What is this lumen or cavity? Let's understand this first. Sorry. Lumen is any hollow space. Any hollow. Now if I talk about this bottle, it has a hollow space inside. If I just remove this cap, then it has a hollow space inside it. The hollow space is called as lumen. The hollow space is called as lumen. And these are the walls basically. These दीवार जिसको हम लोग कहते हैं, these are actually walls. Now in arteries we can see that the walls are quite thick. Walls are thick. Now suppose if the walls are thick, the lumen inside, जो अंदर का जो space है वो क्या होगा? वो थोड़ा सा narrow हो जाएगा. Suppose if I take a example of this pen, just imagine if I just dissect it long transversely, and if I see it through through this side transversely, then I can notice. Suppose if the walls are quite thick, then inside the lumen will get narrow. Inside the hollow space will get narrow. So what happens that thicker walls are thicker in case of an artery, and as the walls get thick, the lumen inside the arteries become thin. So basically walls are thicker and the lumen inside is thin inside an artery. Second thing that we need, sorry, the third thing that we need to understand, that arteries generally, not always, there is an exception also that we are going to study in the heart, when we talk about the anatomy of the heart. Arteries generally carries oxygenated blood. Arteries generally carries oxygenated blood. So we have got total 4 points. First point is arteries always emerges from heart and it goes to the body parts, to the different body parts. Second point, arteries generally carry this oxygenated blood. Generally, why I have used the term generally and not always, because there are certain exceptions even when we study about the anatomy of the heart. There we are going to discuss why we have used the term generally and not always. Third and the most important thing is that arteries have thicker walls. The walls are quite thick in case of arteries, and this is the reason that the lumen, the cavity inside the arteries, becomes thin. ठीक है, क्योंकि ये काफी ज्यादा लॉजिकल चीज है। अगर वॉल मोटे होते जा रहे हैं तो अंदर का जो स्पेस रहेगा वो तो थिन होते जाएगा ना, वो तो नैरो होते जाएगा। ठीक है, सो दिस इज important. The walls are thick in case of arteries, but lumen is thin. Now the third thing, we have just now talked about the walls. हम लोग just अभी walls के बारे में बात किए थे. What are walls? These are muscular flap like structures. ये क्या थे? muscular flap like structures थे। ये आर्टरीज के अंदर प्रेजेंट नहीं रहते। ठीक है, वॉल्व्स आर एब्सेंट, वॉल्व्स आर नॉट प्रेजेंट इनसाइड द आर्टरी। अब क्यों? क्योंकि बेसिकली इसके पीछे भी एक लॉजिक है। नाउ लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड दैट लॉजिक। वी नो दैट आर्टरी इमर्जेस फ्रॉम हार्ट टू बॉडी पार्ट्स। नाउ वी नो दैट हार्ट इज द पंपिंग ऑर्गन, एंड ये जो हार्ट है ये बहुत तेजी से ब्लड को पंप करता है, ये बहुत ही तेजी से ब्लड को पंप करता है। अब ब्लड इतने तेजी से पंप होता है, इतना ज़्यादा हाई प्रेशर में ब्लड निकलता है कि आर्टरी के पास कोई, मतलब कभी भी अगर फ्लूइड बहुत तेजी से निकल रहा है, बहुत हाई प्रेशर के अंडर वो निकल रहा है, तो इट हैज़ वेरी लेस टेंडेंसी या नेग्लिजिबल टेंडेंसी टू गो बैक अगेन। कोई भी चीज़ अगर तेजी से निकल रहा है तो उसके पास काफ़ी कम टेंडेंसी होता है कि वो पीछे वापस आ पाए। ठीक है, इसलिए वॉल्व्स नहीं होते आर्टरीज के अंदर, क्योंकि ब्लड एक बार फोर्सफुली जो निकला वो पीछे मुड़ के नहीं आएगा। वॉल्व्स का काम क्या था? टू प्रिवेंट द बैकफ्लो ऑफ द ब्लड। यहाँ पे वॉल्व्स का जरूरत ही नहीं है, बिकॉज ब्लड इज ऑलरेडी इन हाई प्रेशर, इन ग्रेट प्रेशर, जिसके वजह से वो एक बार तो निकला, वो बैकफ्लो करने का टेंडेंसी बहुत ही कम रखता है। एंड दिस इज द रीजन कि वॉल्व्स का ना होना यहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा, वॉल्व्स का होना यहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा सिग्निफिकेंट नहीं है। मतलब वॉल्व्स हो ना हो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है। ठीक है, तो जनरली क्या किया गया है, व्हाट हैज नेचर डन? नेचर हैज रिमूव द वॉल्व्स फ्रॉम दिस आर्टरीज। ठीक है, सो देयर आर बेसिकली 5 points. First, arteries always emerges from heart to body part. Second point is arteries always carries oxygenated blood, hamesha, generally, not hamesha, generally it carries oxygenated blood. There are certain exceptions even. Then walls are absent in arteries. Third, lumen or the cavity is thin, whereas the walls are thicker in case of artery, right? In case of artery, the walls are thicker. Yes, hello. Fine. Now let's move to veins. This is the picture of a vein. This is the picture of a vein. Okay. Now whatever things we have studied in arteries, almost सारा चीज reverse जाएगा, sorry, सारा चीज opposite जाएगा. Now we have discussed about the walls. The walls in case of arteries, it was thick. The walls inside the outside the artery, it was thick. But in case of veins, walls जो होंगे ना वो thin होंगे. Walls are actually thin. Walls are thin. तो वॉल्स अगर थिन हो गए तो इसके अंदर का जो स्पेस है उसको काफी ज्यादा जगह मिल जाएगा. सो द ल्यूमेन, it has, the artery has been opened in such a way that you can see inside the walls and the lumen. So this is the lumen, this is the lumen. So अगर walls अगर thin हो गए, walls दीवार अगर काफी ज्यादा thin हो गया, तो अंदर का स्पेस जो होगा वो क्या हो जाएगा, काफी ज्यादा वाइड हो जाएगा. lumen is wide. Just just the reverse thing, just the opposite things that we can notice in case of arteries, right? So first point what we have studied in case of arteries, that is it emerges out from heart and is it goes to the body parts, right? The opposite, just the opposite, veins actually emerges from the body parts and goes to the heart. It carries the blood from body parts to heart, whereas arteries carries blood from heart to body parts. Just the opposite. Arteries carry blood from heart to body parts, whereas veins carry blood from body parts to heart. Second, veins generally carry deoxygenated blood. Deoxygenated blood. Now again I have used the term generally. That means there are certain, I cannot use the words always because there are certain exceptions even, right? So they generally carry deoxygenated blood. What the arteries used to carry? They used to carry oxygenated blood. Next thing, veins have valves. Now why is it so? Can you see this picture? Can you see the muscular flap-like structures here? This way, this flap-like structure, this flap-like structure, these are none but the valves. Okay. And why inside veins we have valves? Because we know in case of arteries the blood actually moves from the heart to the body parts, and whenever the blood is coming out of the heart, it is in great pressure, it is in high pressure, right? And a liquid or a fluid which is in high pressure, it has negligible tendency to go back again, to come back again. But we know that veins carry blood from body parts to heart. अब बाकी के बॉडी पार्ट्स तो ब्लड को पंप नहीं करेंगे, और पंप नहीं करेंगे तो ब्लड जो है वो काफी तेजी से तो नहीं निकल सकता है, उतने हाई प्रेशर में तो नहीं निकल सकता है. और कोई भी चीज बहुत ज्यादा हाई प्रेशर में नहीं निकल रहा, दैट मीन्स इट इज मूविंग स्मूथली, वेरी स्मूथली. And something which is moving very smoothly can come back again also, right? So उस वापस ब्लड ना आए उसको प्रिवेंट करने के लिए, उसके बैक फ्लो को प्रिवेंट करने के लिए हम लोग के वेन्स के अंदर क्या रहता है, वॉल्व्स रहते हैं. हमारे वेन्स के अंदर क्या रहता है, वॉल्व्स रहता है. ठीक है. So this is the third point. The fifth point was that the lumen is wide. Why? Because the walls are thin. So just opposite. Let's revise a little bit. Artery carries blood from heart to body parts, just a minute, whereas veins carry blood from body parts to heart. Just opposite. Next, arteries carry what kind of blood? Oxygenated blood generally, but there is an exception also. And in case of veins, they generally carry deoxygenated blood. Now let's come to valves. Valves are not present inside the artery, whereas it is present inside the veins. Now, walls, the walls, दीवार जिसको हम लोग कहते हैं आम भाषा में, walls are thicker. Walls are thick in case of an artery, and since the walls are thick, the lumen gets thin. The lumen gets thin because the space inside arteries, the walls are actually taking most of the space, so the inside space, the hollow space becomes thin, narrow. Okay. Right, now let's come to this vein. Just the opposite is happening in case of vein. In case of vein, the walls are thin, so the lumen is getting enough space to widen out. So the lumen is wide here. Okay, and these flap-like structures are walls, which is present only in case of vein. Fine. ठीक है. यहाँ तक किसी को कोई डाउट? Any doubt you people have? Any doubt till here? Any doubt? Fine. Okay. So tomorrow we are going to check with the capillary differences between arteries and veins, and also start with the anatomy of the heart. Fine. Okay. With this, I am ending the class. See you tomorrow and have a nice day.